In this video, we'll try to talk about prior and years. We'll calculate a measure which will kind of give you the prior and years based on the user selection. For example, if user wants to see previous 2 or 3, if the selection is 2, 3, 4 or 5 from the slicer up there, and you want to grab that total and put it in a column. By using a measure, we'll do that. So it's a 3-step process. One is we want to grab the years based on the selection, and also we want to look at the total sightings and calculate that and put it in the column next to it. In this case, we have a table visual. We want to use the measure, create a measure and drag it onto the table visual so that it will calculate the total sightings in whatever selection is made by the user. For example, if the user selects 2 years, it is that, and if it is 5, then you want to grab those values from the total sightings like 1, 1, 2, 2, and whatever sightings on 1932. I think I don't see any sightings there. So you want to calculate that total and put it in your column adjacent to total sightings. That would be, say, in this case, it will be 6. So problem statement is that you want to grab those years. You want that visually. If the user is trying to select something, making a selection in the slicer, you want to know what are the years you have selected, and also what are the values in the total sightings column. So in this case, it is, like I said, it is 6. So you can keep that in mind. You have to calculate, create a measure which will calculate the total based on the user selection. It should be, it's pretty simple. Now it might look a little bit complicated, but it should be easy. And we are going to create a measure previous or prior and years. So that should be the idea. And like I said, the user will make on any selection. So as you go up and down the table, you will be able to see based on the selections, the number like 2, 3 or 4 or whatever the user selects, those values will appear. So let us try to use Dax Query View and try to test our theory because we thought conceptually we have that idea. So let us try to use summarize. See, like I said, we want to grab the years first. So let us pass those parameters for the summarize function. One is a table and next is the group by column. We want to grab the years, so that is the simple step. And once you run it, you can see on the bottom, you see all those years. No surprise there. That is exactly how the functionality of summarize function when you give your table and also your group by column. Perfect. Now let us take it a step further. Let us try to wrap this in a calculate table. Again, calculate table evaluates a table expression in a context modified by filters, right? So the first parameter is a table. That is what expects the calculate table expects. So this is the table. We already have that. And next is we have to write the expression for the calculate table. So what we can do is probably we can use the dates and period function and try to add those 4 parameters which are required for dates and period. So let us go ahead and give the expression to the calculate table. Like I said, dates and period will expect 4. Let us give the dates, which is we already know that calendar date is the dates column. And because we have used this dates and period in previous couple of examples, so it should be easy for us to follow along. And the start date, let us give the max of the calendar date, so that will be the second argument. The third is the number of intervals. For now, let us try to put a selection here because Dax will not be able to see what is there in the slicer. So let us give that -2 and make it as year as the interval. So it should be very simple. So once you do that, close the parenthesis and try to run it again. So now here you should get 20, 23, 22 and 21. That this is the current year is also inclusive. So you get all those things, 3 of them. So it's perfect because the max date in max year in our data set is 2023. So this is perfect. So let us try to because this is a table, right? Calculate table will return value as a table. So let us try to create a variable and call it as a years and put this particular calculation into that variable. So we have a table here. So let us try to use concatenate X because the reason why is that we want to grab the years and the sightings, right? so that whenever user is making selection, for you also to follow along, you will know what are the selections made, what is the total, and all that stuff, right? So let us use a concatenate x. It expects a table and expression and a delimiter. So let us try to pass the years, because that is a table we already know. And let us try to maybe grab the total sightings for now, and let us add the delimiter as a comma. So that way we have, and let us intentionally make a mistake, so that DAX is pretty intuitive, right? It will tell you where is the your error. It says the line 14 and 30th character is the error. So we know that we already intentionally missed adding the quotation, ending quotation mark. So we'll add that now. Again, run it. Again, you see an error, because obviously concatenate x will return a string, right? It is not a table. So unless a table, you cannot see that in your Dax Query View. So let us wrap that in a curly braces, so that you get your values up below. When you run it again, there is no error. Now you see there are three values. Obviously, those are the three sightings we have already seen. Those are like 21, 22, 2022 and 2023. So let us quickly look at the table view. From the table view, look at our data, original data. It checks out. 634 is the 2023 value. Let us again try to filter out only for the year 2022 rather. Once you do that for 2022 and check out bottom, you see 2241. And obviously for 2021, it is 1900. So I think our calculations look good. So let us again verify it. So it's 1900. So those are the values which we already have. So let us try to go back to the Dax Query View, so that at least we have cross-verified. Our calculation seems to be okay now. So let us try to tweak this code in the return statement. Let us try to tweak that code and try to add the things which we want. So let us do step by step. See, we want the years, right? How can we add to this concatenate x expression? So can we do like this? Or maybe let us try to, anytime you want to add something, you use the ampersand. So this is not working because it's giving you an error. So let me just do one thing. Let me delete all these things, and let me just try to fix the code. Once we fix the code, you should be able to do it, right? So once we are doing the same fashion, what you see on the screen is not working. Let me just go ahead and try to tweak it, so that we want the years and also the total sightings. I think this should be it. So I kind of tweaked it a little bit, and I'll just delete this part. This is an error. So let me add the delimiter, because the first is the table, and second is the expression, and the third is your delimiter. Those are the three things. Again, delimiter is an optional thing, but top two are important for concatenate x. So once you do that, I think it looks good. You have your 900 is a value, and 2021 is the year, and so on. So I think this looks good. Let me just add more code here and clean it up a little bit. So like I said, it will concatenate the result of an expression, concatenate x. It's an iterator function. So we added the years, and also added the forward arrow, pointing arrow. And once we add the sightings and the year, this should be good. And I've added optional things too here. So I wanted to see order by expression, because when we are going back, you should grab the latest year, right? Like 2023 should be first, and 2022 should be the second, and 2021 should be the third. So I think this should good. First are the sightings, and in that particular year, and it should be good. Now this is the measure which we create for, again, this is the part one of the video. We're just calculating the years and also the sightings in that particular year. So this is the same thing which we have tried out in the Dax Query View. So we have the summarize here under calculate table, and the expression for the calculate table is already given here. So this is exactly, I copied from the Dax Query View, and I added some comments so that it will be easy for us to understand step by step. In case if you look back to this particular code at a future date, it should be easy for you. So that's the reason we have all those comments. So again, optional are you want to sort it by order by expression and descending order is up to you. So let us try to run it. And once we run it and grab that particular measure onto the table, Once you drag that onto the table, once you see on the bottom, I think it is looking good. In case if you want, let me just do one thing. Let me just close the code window. I mean, already you see those things appearing, right? In the year, say for example, 1948, 7 in 1948, 25 in 1947. I think everything is looking good. So let us commit to it, close the window. I hope you have already committed to that code. So once you do that and drag it onto the table visual, you have it there. The next thing is try to create a new page, call it as prior and years. And let us try to create the actual measure. This is the part 2 of the video, right? We have to calculate the prior and years. What are the total sightings? That is, we want to add up all those things which we grabbed in the part 1, right? All those sightings. So it's a simple thing. We use calculate, and the expression we pass is the total sightings, and we are going to use the dates in period. Absolutely, this is the same thing which we have used in the previous example too. And here in this case, we want to return the sightings prior n. So based on the sightings range parameter which the user has selected, and we have used selected value. Again, it's a very simple code. We have used a couple of times in the previous videos too. It's almost similar to the previous code. So again, look at the code, pause the video and do it. And if you want to format, add comma, so that that code is there, commit it. And once you do that and drag it onto the table visual, now you can start seeing, right? Say, for example, it says 1 in 1925, prior and years is 1. So then you don't have any values for 26 and 27. So there is kind of empty space before that. So if you see the 33 and 32 and all. So wherever the values are there, the values are being kind of reflected in the sightings and years bin column. And the prior n is also is working perfectly. So for example, 2 and 2, 30, 31 is 4 and all, right? So pause the video, look at the graphic table visual, and it should be easy. So let us try to filter those values because we are getting empty, right? Let us try to fix that, because the values, if they are not there in any year, we don't want anything to appear. So once we do this particular filtering part, it's a very simple filter code. Once you do that and commit to it, those values, the visual will look good. That is, the sightings and years bin will look good. So let us go back, commit it. Let us go back to our table visual and kind of look at, inspect it visually. So those things are gone. So it should be wherever the sightings are there, it is coming. If it is not there, you don't have those pointed arrow there. So I think we are kind of, this is again tweaking for look and feel. So you can add whatever you want to add, parenthesis, you can add parentheses or whatever. I've used pointed arrow. It should be easy, right? So prior and years is coming. So the next step is, now that it is working, and I mean, you can tweak this code further so that, there is a minimum years 1925, max is 2023. You want to calculate, use extra code so that you can try to tweak it a little bit, so that those values, if there is no value prior to 1925, if the user selection is 2, it doesn't make sense, right? So those kind of things you can tweak, and you can make sure that you exclude the current year, and all those things can be done. And now the next step is try to drag the line visual onto the canvas and drag all those values from you have your created two measures here, so sightings and years bin, and all those total sightings and all. Once you do that, I have already added, this is pretty much standard, I've added the data labels and all. So once you hover over it, you can see all those values. This is how I've used the line chart, prior and years. And if you scroll down the table too, those are the things which are appearing. And in the line chart, if you click on whatever data values which we have added, so once we do that, those things should start appearing there. So we have already done that. You can pause the video and add it again. You can see those are the values in the table visual. And if you click for the line chart, once we click that, we have those total sightings and prior and years on the y-axis, year on the x-axis, and tooltips, you have your sightings and years bin. So that whenever you are hovering over the line chart, those values will be appearing. So it's great. I think it's a good additional tool for the user whenever they want to think of what are the prior n years any given point of time. Again, this is the same slicer which we have used in the previous examples too. I've limited that to 10. And whenever the user clicks on say 9 or 3, I think this is working out perfectly. I think it should be easy. And even though the code looks complicated, it should be an easy thing because we have broken down into several steps. It should be easy for us to understand. So I think we have achieved whatever we have intended to. Anytime user wants to look at the previous n years, and once they select make the selection in the slicer window, these things are also appearing. This is kind of a useful tool, right? The sightings and years bin is kind of a tooltip, so that even though we know the logic behind it, it's always a good idea if you show that on the visual itself, so that user will understand what is going on, because they don't have to know the code behind it, but basically it will help us to really understand the logic. So now that we have done this, let us try to pause the video, and we will see you in the next video. And thanks for watching.